Okay, so welcome again to the Data Admin Training Part 1. Martha and I, and by I mean Gretchen, are going to show you a few specific tasks today to set up the training site so that you and your site coordinators can use it. So first and foremost, the thing that you're going to need to do is log in for the very first time when you receive your username and temporary password. So you're going to put in the password that CIS National provided to you, which hasn't happened yet, but for most of it, and choose a new password. And this is pretty straightforward. You'll see the rules for the password above. It must be between 6 and 20 characters long, include a capital letter, et cetera, et cetera. So please try to make this, strong and custom, something that nobody else is going to guess, of course. And click Change Password. Let's see if that worked. So you'll be asked to log in with your new password. And there we go. Okay. So one of the first things you'll see is that you are on the administration dashboard. And of course, this is because you will all have a data admin role, which you can see at the top right underneath your name. If you navigate over to the case management menu, oh, that's right. You'll have to, is this where you don't have a student?
Yeah, but you can add.
You'll see that you can't view the site coordinator dashboard until there is a student entered in the system. So this is something that you will have to make sure that your site coordinators know to do. They'll have to start by finding a student. So when you get your login information for your training affiliate, please add at least one student, and this is how you do it. Click on Add Student on the left side. The first question is, have you received parent or guardian consent to enroll the student and provide supports? I know we keep reiterating this in every training and demonstration, but of course it is very important that you have consent to serve these kids. And I'm adding my student, Heather Clausen. It is required that you'll check for duplicates each time you add a brand new student, and of course that would be very helpful in making sure that you're not entering multiple kids accidentally who are really the same person. And these will be within an affiliate. So the student ID is unique within your affiliate, so if a student moves from school to school, we'll keep his record and move him to each school. You're not going to create brand new kids each time. This is a brand new student, so I'm going to click on This is a New Client, and then it will allow me to continue through the workflow. Next. And you see when I chose a birth date that was an incorrect, that was a student that is born 17 days ago, it'll say that I have an invalid age, so I have to adjust that. And usually this is something that your site coordinators will be doing, but again, just so you're aware of how it works and can set up the system for them to start using, this will be important for you too. Anything with a little star next to it is a required field, so make sure that those are all chosen. Before you continue on. And click Next. The student's address can be entered here. One little tip is that if you go to the zip code lookup field first and search for that, it'll automatically populate the city and state. And then you can add in the street address. Now if the student is homeless, you can put the school's address as a placeholder because this is going to be required. You won't be able to bypass it. When you go to verify the address, it'll show you exactly what it can find in the geocoding map, and that'll be really helpful in the future so that we can use the geocoding function to show where all of the students are that you're serving. If the student's address is actually not on a map, which can of course happen sometimes in more rural areas, you would have to click Make Verify Address, not mandatory, so that you can continue. But otherwise, if it's here in the list, and I know that this is 2345 Crystal Drive in Arlington that I want, I'm going to choose that. And then I can continue through the form. And the student contact information is not required. Obviously, if your site coordinators are allowed to text with their students or contact them through email or phone number, then you can put that information here. So for the purposes of setting up fake students, of course it's going to be a little more efficient if you just put in the minimum data that's required. For parent consent, we're going to add a new consent. You do not have to upload the file if you either don't have that electronically or if you've advised your site coordinators not to store it in the system. However, you can do so. But you definitely need to have a begin and end date for the consent. So it might be the duration of this school year or another time period. So it will say that it's open unless you choose a date that it will expire. And then we can save that and continue on. And here you see that I entered the consent. So I will click Done. If you have parent and guardian contact information that you would like to enter, this is where you would do that, although it is not required that you do so. All of the contact information, the email and cell phone, work phone is optional. And I'm going to save that. And then when you see the summary of the information, you can, of course, add multiple parents or guardians if you want to have a dad and a mom separate or a grandparent or whoever. And then we're just going to click Done when we're finished with the screen. And finally, the referral information. There are a number of fields that you can fill out, but the only required field is similar to what we had in SysDom, the referral source. So how did this student come to the attention of communities in school? But of course you can put the person's name, etc., and save. So I tried to go through that pretty quickly just to kind of show you how you can do a basic student setup to begin using the system properly. You'll see on the last page of the workflow, the status is a check mark for all of these steps because I completed everything. Go me. So I'm going to click Done in the lower right hand and be completely done with my workflow. And here's my new student. So now when your site coordinators log into the system, they can click Find Student. And if you don't put any information into this area here, then you can just search and it would bring up everybody in the entire affiliate. So for right now, since we're in the training site and I only have one student, that won't be too painful. But, oh, I have two students in here. But if I wanted to find a specific person, of course, I could use the search features at the top and narrow it down to that. Okay. And this just allows users in SysDom 2.0 to be able to access all of the other menu items on the left-hand side. It's one of those fun quirks of the system that we will be sure to tell you about. And this only happens the first time somebody logs in. They'll never have to worry about that again. They don't have to find a student every time they enter the system. Don't worry. Okay. Okay. And before I move on to Martha, I'm going to pretend that I am done using SysDom for the day, and I'm going to log out and show you one other quick thing, which is what happens if you forgot that password that you just created. You'll click on Forgot Your Password on the home page and put in your username. And click Submit. So as long as your email address was entered properly, you will be able to get that email to your inbox. There we go. So you'll get an email from System2 Response, and I don't know if there will be any issues with firewalls at schools or anything like that that we've had in the past with our other system. We can work through those if that becomes an issue. But for right now, of course, you see that I did receive the email, and it's giving me a temporary password that I can use. So I think it's easiest to just copy that by right-clicking on it, and I can paste it, and then pasting it, whoops, wrong button, pasting it into the password field. And just like we did before the first time we logged in, it's not going to let you in the system until you create your own official password. Same rules apply, so you're putting in your temporary one again and then coming up with something new and exciting. Change password. And then you'll be able to log in with that password moving forward. Okay. So now I can, yeah, I didn't tell them to do that yet. Now I can pass them on to Martha to show you how to create other things in the system. Thanks. If I know how to do it.
Hi, everyone.
Bear with us while we switch presenter roles. I don't see you. Not on my list. What's happening? Oh, this is weird. There we go. Here you are. See if it works. I changed my list into that.
All right.
No. Did you hit share screen?
All right, there we go.
Okay.
Thanks for bearing with us through those WebEx troubles. All right, so Gretchen just showed you how to add a student, which will be important for your users in this training site. Of course, when we have real system and you guys are actually having, real live students in the system, those will all be brought over to you already, so that can be easy by just searching. So one of the main things that you all are going to need to do for the train site, and also once the production site is ready to go for you all, is to add schools, providers, and activities. So right now we're going to go through what that process looks like. So you can see here I'm in that wrench menu, which is called the Administration Dashboard, and this is a side of the system that only those who have data admin access actually have access to. So here you can see there's an icon called Affiliate School Management, so we're going to click there to start making a school. All right, and here's our affiliate that we're in right now, CIS of Bradshaw County. And if you click on this gear on the left-hand side, you see a few options: schools, providers, and users. So for now, we're going to add a school, so we want to see the schools menu. So there's already a few in here that we've added earlier today, so what we're going to do is just add another. So up here at the top right hand of the page, there's a Add New School button that you can click, and it will pop up a new menu for the school name. So for now, we're going to say this is Gretchen Middle School. Yay! And the second field is the NCS ID, which I know can be kind of cumbersome to put in, but luckily you only have to do it when you're creating the school, so it's really important you get it right. So if you need reminders of what the NCS ID is, you can hover over this question mark, which will kind of, a magic box will appear with information that I'm sure is very fascinating to you all. So this has to be a 12-digit number, and every public school should have one. So that should be entered here. And the system will require you to enter exactly 12 digits. So make sure that 1, 2, 3. Okay. 12 digits. So it will require you to enter only 12 digits, so you will get an error if you enter more or less. All right, so then moving down, we're getting to school type. These drop-downs should all look fairly familiar to you. Nothing new is new here in terms of the categories or anything like that. So this is a middle school, and it's a CIS model, and it is not an alternative. So you just got to click through the ones with the stars to make sure you're getting everything that is required. So for grade levels, I know this is also one that can be a little bit confusing. So for grade levels, it's very similar to the past. We just want you to select all the grades that are served at the school, in the school, not necessarily the grades that CIS is focused on. So for this middle school, they serve 6th, 7th, 8th. Even if CIS just serves grades 6 and 7, you would select all 3. And then whenever you have select boxes like this, you always have to remember to click Add Selected, or else they will not appear here. If I realize that 6th grade was not actually served at this school, you can just double click on that line and it disappears. So now it just says 8th grade. So I'll go back and select 6th and 7th. All right. Location, this is rural, suburban, urban. So I'm going to say this one is rural. And then very similar to how Gretchen did the zip code lookup for the student, we are going to use the zip code lookup and populate the zip code. And we will also put in the address here. All right, and here, verify address works the same exact way. And if you wanted, down below here, you could add specific contact information for the school if you would like to have that on file in the system, such as the principal's phone number or the general school phone number, or however you want to use this section is great, but none of that is required. All right, so I saved it, and now I have Gretchen Middle School here. So now that we have schools, we are going to add providers. So we're going to go back out into the area that we saw just a page ago, which is called affiliate information. So if you remember from the training that you all hopefully attended a few weeks ago with Edson and Gretchen, this is called a breadcrumb area, but its real purpose is just to easily navigate backwards in the system, since the browser back button will not work. So since we just want to go back to the page that had the affiliate on it, we will hit affiliate information, and there we just essentially hit the back button for the system. So from here, we just did schools, and now we're going to go to providers. This is pretty simple. This is for any type of provider that your affiliate wants to record as providing services. So if you want to add a new provider, similar, you go to the top corner and say Add New Provider. And then here we will say Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'll spell it right. And then for categories, there are a few different categories that you can choose. Community partner, school staff, or volunteer. So this is clearly a community partner. So I will say community partner. And you see here that the address is not required, but if that was helpful for you for, billing or mailing purposes, then by all means you can enter it here. And then again at the bottom, if there's a certain contact information, such as the actual liaison that comes to the school or something, that would all go at the bottom. But again, if you just look at the ones that have stars next to it, it's really only the top ones that are required. So we're going to hit save. And now we have those 2 providers, where before we had 1. So if we wanted to add a volunteer, it would be the same process, but here we would say we'll make Edson into this part also, since the rest of us are. So there's Edson as a volunteer, and then we would just hit save, and now we have a volunteer also. So they'll appear in the list. one thing to note throughout the system, just to try to keep remembering, is if you want to see things in a certain order, these menu headers at the top here are sort, or they'll change the order in which you're viewing things alphabetically. So if I click on provider name, it'll resort itself so that it lumps together in an alphabetical manner. And that's true for all of these different headers. So that'll be helpful once you have a lot of providers in there and are trying to find certain ones. All right, so now we have schools and providers. Another thing to note about providers is that some of you may be thinking, well, most of our supports are actually provided by CIS staff. So the system is built similar to how SysDem Legacy was built, where if a user has, a certain aspect on their profile when we make the users, there's an area where you can say whether this user provides direct services to staff. So as long as that is selected, they will show up in the option for CIS staff who provide services. So no need to add use anybody who's a user in the system as a provider here. All right, so here is our affiliate again, and you saw I went to that through this breadcrumb menu. Okay, so now we're going to add activities, which is actually in a slightly different spot. So we're going to navigate back to the admin dashboard. And you see here there's activity management. All right, so here is a list of all of the support categories that we at National use and you all can kind of organize your activities into. So I find it, in this case, it's alphabetizing by the support. I think it's a little bit more helpful for us right now to alphabetize by category. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now we can see all the academic assistance supports all at the top. So essentially what we're doing is we're adding this third category of activities. This is not required. If you do not want to track this, if it is not helpful for you at your affiliate, by no means, you do not need to add activity level information. But if you would like to track specific activities, then you can do that by going off of the gear next to the category that you would like. So we're going to enter this a tutoring program, and we're going to say add activity. All right, and then similar at the top right hand of the page, there is an add new activity. And this is really straightforward. We're going to say Tom's tutoring. And there we go. So now anybody in your affiliate, when they're entering a support and they select academic assistance and tutoring, Tom's tutoring will show up in the activities drop-down that they're provided. All right. So I will show you what that looks like. If we go to the site coordination dashboard, one of the things that site coordinators will be doing is adding a Tier 1 support. So I'm going to click Tier 1 support, and you should be realizing there's a pattern. Add new is always at the top right. Click top right, and then here is where you can go to academic assistance. And then these filters only for those student supports within the academic assistance category. So the one that we selected was tutoring. And then there's Tom's tutoring. So here you can select which school was provided. It auto defaults to whatever school the site coordinator is assigned to. But let's say you do a joint function with another school that CIS serves. So, and maybe it happened at Bradshaw Elementary, so you could change it there if you wanted, but it does default to the one the user is assigned to. And begin date and end date are pretty straightforward, but they are required, so please enter those. And then here, volunteer, and now we're going to find Edson. There, it worked. Okay, so then if we had additional providers that we wanted to add, we could add it here.
Up to 3.
Again, if you didn't want to fill in which community partner was there, you don't need to. That's not required. So you can fill in as much information here that you find helpful. So in terms of down here, just a quick overview of what this looks like. You would just enter the number of students that were served, the number of volunteers. It's pretty similar to how we do it in SYSDEM in terms of the type of information that you're inputting. But the important thing to see here is this upper part in terms of how data admins will be setting up the back end of the system and how it will inform kind of the work that site coordinators are doing when they're inputting data.
Awesome. Yeah, okay, so now you have seen how what you're setting up for the site coordinators is going to actually show up for them. And again, this is the training site, and you can see that because it is red. When you get the production site released to you, it will be green. So red means stop if you're trying to do real stuff. This isn't it. And green means go. But so when you're in the training site, you know, and you're setting up provider names and activities and schools and things like that, and training your site coordinators on them, you know, feel free to put whatever information. It's all fake, you know, have fun with it, whatever you want to do. But, of course, this won't apply to the production site. You will do things like create new schools if you happen to enter a new one after next year or during next year, and then additional providers and activities and things like that. But don't forget that we're having a SYSDEM migration of existing schools and students, which we'll be very clear about too. We'll let you know the details on that. I'm going to take back the presenter. Yes, okay. Okay. I'm going to log back in again because I wanted to remind you all about the usernames being sent to you tomorrow. Basically, I sent a spreadsheet of usernames and the user's name and email addresses to Caseworthy, and they imported all of that information into the training site for you guys so that we didn't have to do all of it by hand. We are currently working on linking the affiliates and the users properly on the back end of the system, so that's why it's taking a little bit longer. But tomorrow you guys will get your usernames and your temporary password. And that spreadsheet is based on, you know, you guys sending names to me and saying, I want this person to be my data admin. If I didn't hear from you, I used a name from the end of year report last year. I believe I chose the program person, the person who's like in charge of CIS model implementation or programming. So presumably I have your correct email address. However, I would recommend that you make sure that everybody's email address is correct moving forward, since it is very important to be able to recover your password. And some of you have experienced the same situation in legacy SYSDEM, where if your email address was incorrect, you couldn't really get your password. So I'm going to log back in, if I remember what one the new password I just created, and show you where you can update your user profile. So again, when I log in as a data admin, I'm going to hit the administration dashboard first, but you can just at the top navigate over to the case management area, and then on the left side, I'm going to go to the site coordinator dashboard. Now it's called a site coordinator dashboard because this system has been really built to help the site coordinators accomplish their work with students at schools. No offense, data admins, you're important too, but we're trying to build kind of from the ground up so that the site coordinators have what they need. So it is called the site coordinator dashboard, the site coordinator toolbox, but it's also really a user dashboard. So these things apply to you guys too. When it says my profile, that would be your personal user profile. When you log in for the first time, some of this information is not going to be completed, so you can go through and choose the correct information for your situation. The one I wanted to bring your attention to is at the very bottom, the email, which is required, and to confirm the email to make absolutely sure it was spelled correctly and everything when you entered it. So I'm going to actually change it to my other email address so that all future password requests will go to that email. And of course, it's not going to work unless I fill out all of these other required fields, so be sure to do that the first time you log in. And I guess you can't see, it's not too painful on this page. You can kind of see some of the fields and labels kind of overlapping a little bit. If you experience any issues with that, that's another kind of quirky thing of the system that we want to mention to people. You can actually zoom out your settings a little bit. So this is up at the top in your browser. I'm in Mozilla Firefox, and my zooming setting, whatever you would call it, is at the top right, those 3 lines that I just clicked on. And you can see it currently is set at 100%. I can zoom in more, which would make the situation worse. As you can see, my words, AmeriCorps experience, are disappearing behind this field. So if you zoom out to, I find 80% to be pretty good. Obviously, that means the font is going to be a little smaller, but it can be easier to read in some ways. So you can kind of just play around with that setting if it's bothering you. So I just wanted to bring that up while we're in here. The system should support all regular internet browsers, so it should, whatever your personal preference happens to be, you should be fine. Okay. So as I mentioned, the usernames and temporary passwords will be sent to you guys. And currently there are 15 site coordinator level users set up in each affiliate. And they're just generic names, so you'll be able to see when you log in and go to your own users, which is back under the administration dashboard, the wrench at the top, affiliate school management, which is where a lot of things are done, as Martha demonstrated, on the gear widget. You can view your users here. And in your affiliate, there will be your own name, obviously, as the data admin, and then there will be, for example, a CIS of Bradshaw County 1 through 15, or Bradshaw 1 through 15. So they're just fake users just for training. If you need more than 15 separate user accounts in the training database, let us know. I think that it might, if you want to set up all of your real users individually at some point, we'll talk about how to do that. But for the production site, those users are going to be pulled over. So you don't have to worry about putting in actual people into the training database. If you don't want to, you can just start training with them by assigning, each of your site coordinators your number 1, your number 2, your number 3, and having it be that. But for the production site, the usernames and system are going to pull over. The active schools and the students in those schools are also going to be pulled over, as well as active providers. Everything else, you'll be starting with a clean slate. Okay. Is there anything that you guys think we missed in the actual training part that we wanted to make sure to mention today?
I don't think so.
Okay. We did receive some questions in the chat box, so I can start working through those and trying to answer those questions, if that is cool with you. Oh, you also wanted to mention, before anybody jumps off the call, Martha wanted to do a shout out for...
Oh, yes. So especially for your site coordinators, they all need to watch the Intro to SysDem 2.0. We're calling it a mini course because it really is mini, so it's not something to be afraid of. It's a 7-minute video. You get to listen to me walk you through the system for 7 minutes, and then sign a little user agreement at the end, just so we're sure that everyone understands kind of best practices for privacy and data safety and things like that. So it's really painless, but we do encourage data admins to also watch it so that they are aware of what site coordinators will be watching and what information they're getting through that course. We also have a course on CISU that's called The Value of Data that we do strongly encourage you all to watch, and we hope that you all encourage your site coordinators to watch kind of in tandem with this intro course. It will really walk through kind of the importance of accuracy when you're collecting data and when you're using the system, and kind of how that can be helpful for your site coordinators. So they're kind of a nice pair if you can encourage your site coordinators and other staff to walk through them.
Awesome. And I will actually share my screen again. I had mentioned before that the Intro to SYSM 2.0 course is required for all school-level staff, and it exists in CIS University. Current participants in one of the site coordinator pathway might not actually see it in their system right now. So we are working on making sure that everybody who already has a CISU account is going to have access to that course. So bear with us, and I will definitely tell you whenever that is available. But for brand new users to CIS University, this is how it should work. So tell them to do this and let me know if it doesn't work. All they have to do is go to cisisu.communitiesandschools.org and click on Register. And whenever they fill out all of this information, they can choose the SYSM 2.0 course as their primary learning pathway. And when they register and get a new account, it should be in there for them. I was working on an email and document to send you guys actually before the training, and I ran out of time. But I want to make sure I will get all this information out to you guys. Sorry if anybody feels they're being bombarded by emails. I want to be able to, get you all the information whenever I have it. If things change, I want to let you know. And the other really good place to go for this information is currently the SYSDM group on the Loop, or Yammer. I'm sure as SYSDM users, you guys are already all in this group. All you have to do is click on the Notes tab at the top of the screen, and the SYSDM 2.0 Rollout 2017 is going to have critical information that you need. So right now it has the timeline that we had shared and the demo from April 26th that I mentioned earlier. This recording will also be posted here, as well as that information about the Intro to SYSDM 2.0 mini course. As Martha said, also do the Value of Data course, because that's awesome. But if you don't belong to this group, throw yourselves in there. I know we're not going to use Legacy SYSDM for much longer, but right now this is the best place for me to be able to make announcements that everybody will see. Where else do we here? Okay. So I'm just checking the chat box to see what questions I can start answering. Okay. So a couple of the questions were about the online courses, so hopefully we've addressed those. This training site, the red site that you see here, which is a copy of our production site, will be available ongoing. So your affiliate will use your affiliate's part of this site for training in the future. We'll let you know if it is being updated. If we have to update our production site, then we would also have to update the training site. We'll let you guys know if things like that happen in the future. But for the most part, this is going to be the base system that you're starting with this coming school year. And so even though I said, it's all fake data, you also probably don't want it to get too cluttered or messy. So treat it as though it's, the real system, but this way you can try things out if you're not sure how something works without messing with your real data. So it's great that we can offer this training site to every single affiliate. As you guys, most of you know, our fake affiliate in Legacy SYSDM was the same one that everybody could log into, so it got real crazy real fast. So I think that that's one of the great features of this system, is that there is an actual dedicated training site. Okay. So some of the other kind of more specific questions about the things that we were showing you. for the NCES code, if it is not already in there, which it might be, for community-based sites, this will not be a requirement because there is obviously no NCSID. That's a lot of letters. So yeah, so that field won't even pop up at all if it doesn't apply to you guys.
And if there is a situation where maybe it's a new school or for whatever reason it is asking you for that and you do not have it, there is information in the little question mark box that I showed you all. But if it is a community-based site or something where there isn't an NCS code, just enter 12 zeros. It'll still register.
We can make that one skip free. All right, cool. But yeah, don't do that. Make sure you're not putting 12 zeros in if it's a real school, though, please. It's so, so important and helpful to have that information. As you all know, because the past few years on the end-of-year report, we've been bugging you for it. So once it is in here, it will be in the end-of-year report. And actually, we are building a lot of things in here that you might not have seen in the system before so that the end-of-year report process can be a lot more streamlined and efficient, really. The user profile I showed you has information that we ask for in the end-of-year report. So instead of having to be like, okay, how many of my is my site coordinator bilingual and how many of these people are this and that, it'll already be in here. So that's exciting too. Somebody asked if we can assign providers to only specific schools so the list doesn't appear for everybody. And we had actually talked about that internally, but we don't have that functionality.
So right, we purposefully set it up by affiliate at this point to eliminate kind of the duplication of providers within a certain area. So, for example, if one school had put it in as Big Brothers Big Sisters and one had put it in as BBBS, then they would appear as two different providers, but they're really the same provider in any given area, perhaps. So that's why we've set it up by affiliate. If there are things that you really want to narrow down by school, at this point we would probably recommend differentiating them in the name of the provider somehow, but that list is going to appear for all of your schools. We talked about that one. And another question was about uploading the documents. So I did show you specifically how to upload parent consent, which again, you don't have to, but you're more than welcome to have those files in the system so that they're easy to access for you. But for other documents, we do want to pursue that for the future, to have another area of the system that is school-level documents, and then another one for the students that's whatever other kinds of documents you might need, whether it's like referrals or I don't even know. So all of the documents that you want. I can't even think now. Sorry, I'm a little sleep deprived. But yeah, so that is something, again, in the future that we would like to pursue. Okay. And when I send you the usernames and temporary passwords, I will also send you this training site, the website, thing, the site. What am I trying to say? You know this up in the top left. App.caseworthy, yeah, the URL, that thing. Yeah, I'm going to send you that. So don't worry about that. What else can we tell you guys? Yeah, we could show them that. We do have 12 minutes left. We didn't know how long it would take to get through all of those basic setup tasks, but we can also show you how to do initiative setup. Do you want to show them that? I can, you can.
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay.
I'm going to make
Bear
you
with
do
us
it.
again as we trade presenters.
At least I'm in the M's this time. And as you all recall, in SysDem, Legacy System, we had things called initiatives, and that's why we kind of kept the language the same. And a lot of you used it to track certain local grants and things like that. So if there's a way that you want to group your students together, we have the same functionality in this system so that you can run reports, for example, by just a group of students in the AT&T grant.
And one of the differences is that we no longer use initiatives to track the case management intensity level, so that used to be technically an initiative, but now it's a completely separate entity on the student's profile, so you can also refine it even a little bit more because that's now pulled out. So here you'll see that I will go backwards. I selected in the administration dashboard, again, that's where the wrench is. You can click the initiative management here, and this will bring you to any of the initiatives that are already in the system. And if you wanted to add a new one, top right-hand corner, and whatever it might be. Maybe you have an AT&T grant for 2017, and you might want to, you can add a begin date, and if you know that it is expiring after a certain date and you don't want it to be able to be added to a student's profile, then you can select an end date. If you want it to just remain open because you're hoping that you'll always have that funding, then you can also do that. For now, we will just say it's through the end of the month, and we'll save it, and there it is. So if we ever needed to edit it, maybe the grant got extended, we could just edit it through that. So that's initiatives.